لما تزالكم وأنا وترحموا لي على أولادي مشوا.
This is a harrowing audio of a Moroccan man searching frantically under rubble for his family. An evening that started out like any other would quickly become an unforgettable nightmare. Families were separated. People were lost under the sudden devastation, dozens reportedly dead. Scores of homes were crumpled and walls were reduced to rubble. The earthquake that hit on Friday evening took Morocco by surprise. Now, rescue crews continue to look for casualties or people in need of rescue following the biggest earthquake to hit the country in 120 years. This is Beyond the Headlines, and I'm your host, Phil Green. In this episode, we'll look at what happened when the earthquake struck Morocco and the impact that the disaster will have on the North African country. We'll speak to Gaia bin Mubarak, our correspondent in Morocco, on what she has seen on the ground. We'll also look at how we can design buildings to withstand earthquakes. But before we start, if you want to get all the latest episodes as soon as they come out, just hit the subscribe button wherever you listen to your podcasts. It's considered Morocco's worst earthquake since the 1960 devastation in the western coastal town of Agadir that killed an estimated 15,000 people and injured thousands more. Another 600 or so were killed when another disaster struck in 2004. As earthquakes have wreaked destruction on the North African country in the past, this most recent one could take months, if not years, to recover from. That's according to the International Federation of Red Cross and Red Crescent Societies. On Friday night, the 6.8 magnitude earthquake struck in the Atlas Mountains and exacted a cruel toll. One that is still rising. At least 2,012 people have been confirmed dead at the time of recording this, and thousands injured in Marrakesh and in regions to the south. In the 72 hours since, hundreds of people in Morocco have slept in open spaces, camping by the roads and streets, understandably fearful of returning indoors. Several of the historic sites of Marrakesh have also been damaged or destroyed. Founded in the 11th century by the Almoravids, Marrakesh, which was close to the epicentre, is home to several monuments dating from that period. In Jema al-Fna Square, at the heart of the old city, the Carbush Mosque's minaret has collapsed. Leaders and diplomats from across the world have expressed condolences and offered to support the North African country. The UAE President Sheikh Mohammed said the UAE promised to support Morocco. In a telephone call on Sunday, Sheikh Mohammed affirmed the UAE's solidarity with Morocco. To get a better understanding, we are joined by the National's correspondent in Morocco, Gaia bin Mubarak. Gaia, how are you?
Hello, Phil. I'm good, thank you.
So, can you tell us a little bit about what you are seeing? How are the rescue operations going?
Well, as soon as I got here, I went to the area near the epicenter of the earthquake, which is called El Haus district. I can see that both authorities and people are coming together in order to attempt to rescue basically what is left, because several people, those who were saved, they were saved in the initial hours, but now I can see that they are only trying to pull out bodies, just like to give a closure to some families. I met several people that were rescued, not only by the authorities, since it was actually very difficult for authorities to reach some of the rural areas, since as you know, the earthquake hit the heart of the Atlas Mountains, and lots of areas are isolated. So there was no way that a car or even a scooter could go up and reach some of the villages that are high in the mountains. But I would say that there is a strong sense of community. People are coming together. Authorities have I've seen massive crews from the military, from the Ministry of Interior, from the civil defense, volunteers also coming from across the country in order to assist the effort. The Red Crescent, the Boy Scout, I've seen several organizations also assisting. But unfortunately, from what I can see now, the hope to find survivors still alive under the rubble is getting dimmer by the day, since now anything the people only want to have closure and just retrieve the bodies of their loved ones.
Can you tell us a little bit about the the people that you've met then, the condition that they have been in, the people that have been rescued so far, and the people who are looking for family and loved ones?
Mhm. So some of the people that were rescued, they are living in tents, either the tents that were provided by the Moroccan army or the Moroccan civil defense, or tents they made themselves. I saw people yesterday trying to make like really very primitive tents using tree leaves in order just like to get a shelter from like the sun and the cold at night. But I would say like everyone who just like lived and through the earthquake and had the earthquake destroy their homes are currently in the street, either in tents or basically sleeping in alleyways. Even those people that only had their house suffer small cracks or like some cracks in the ceiling are also living in the street because there remains an issue like of a potential like aftershock, so they cannot really go back to their houses. And even if the possibility of an aftershock happening is getting like slighter, I think people are still scared after undergoing such a traumatizing experience. Also, something that is many of the survivors are surviving, but most of them lost lots of their family members. I met a man today at the hospital, at the university hospital in Marrakesh, who told me he lost his wife and he lost his in-laws, and he was someone actually who his house collapsed over his head, and he had to dig in for an hour to get out of the rubble. And all he thought of just like saving his kids, so he just like saved himself, and then he saved two of his children, and then went on around his town. It's really smaller than a town, so he went in and tried also to save some people, and he managed to pull out like two people or three. But now he's just like living in front of the university hospital in Marrakesh, and he has nowhere to go, and he just left his kids with random families that still have homes in his village.
Can you tell us a little bit about the hospitals? How are they dealing with it? Is there enough hospitals to treat everyone, and is everyone getting the medical support that they require?
Well, from people's testimonies, they're saying everyone is helping us. Like, where they provided us with the water, with like food, with medical assistance. They are checking. They're getting like checkups on a daily basis. But from what I can see, so I went to the region that has been like the hardest hit by the earthquake, and where the epicenter is. They only had like one hospital in the region. So when the earthquake hit, all of the victims and all of the people injured, they needed to be transferred to that hospital. So that hospital at some point had to cater to more than 1,000 patients, and they had also to receive several bodies and people who have died. So when I spoke to the director, he said that they had to deal with that with whatever they had at that moment, waiting for like assistance to arrive, like from nearest region, which is something that they got later. I saw like the military having like medical tents inside the hospital, setting up tents in order like to have more space. I saw also the Ministry of Interior also having tents in that hospital. But what happened is that after that hospital received those patients, once they stabilized the patients, they send them to Marrakesh University Hospital, the main hospital, like in the entire like governorate, or let's say state of Marrakesh. But it's really, these are the only two hospitals. I say I might be wrong, but it seems that these are the main two hospitals that are treating and receiving like the earthquake victims. Authorities and people are saying we're getting treated well, but to be honest, I'm seeing that it is really relative. That we must keep things relative in terms of saying like whether these hospitals are actually able to just like meet the needs of all these people, because in a circumstance of a natural disaster, it's really hard, and I'm sure both the people and like the medical staff are struggling, certainly.
2023 has been a devastating year worldwide for earthquakes. On February the 6th, 2023, at 4:17 a.m, a 7.8 magnitude earthquake struck southern and central Turkey and northwestern Syria. The earthquake caused widespread damage and tens of thousands of fatalities. It was estimated that 14 million people, roughly 16% of Turkey's population, were affected by the earthquake that caused widespread damage in an area of 350,000 square kilometres. The confirmed death toll stood at more than 59,000. It's said that fatalities are not caused by an earthquake, but instead by debris from falling buildings. As an earthquake's vibrations push on a building structure, the building will begin to resonate, which causes the building to move with greater amplitude until parts of the building collapse or fall and the building falls apart. In the aftermath of February's Turkey-Syria earthquake, we spoke to seismic expert and a visiting professor of earthquake engineering at the University College London, Ziggy Lebowski, on why buildings collapse on Beyond the Headlines. We discussed how we can improve the structural integrity of buildings so that they can withstand the intensity that comes with an earthquake.
There are groups of people who are now coming up with techniques which can give warnings of about half a minute to a minute before an earthquake strikes, based on the stresses in the ground. And that helps high-tech companies shut down processors and machines and such like. So we can do that sort of prediction. But in terms of predictions to help regions like we have here, that's not really feasible. But what we do know is where there are regions of higher hazard. The earthquake provides a large horizontal and vertical force on the building, and we try and make the building flexible, as maybe you would, if you think of your shock absorbers in the car, and we do that by putting, let's say, steel in the reinforced concrete, and we tie that together so it can bend and move adequately. And we have building codes that we're supposed to follow to ensure that that's done appropriately.
This was Ziggy's advice if you ever find yourself in an earthquake situation.
You can help yourself in an earthquake situation. There's a mantra of duck, cover and hold. So you get down under a table, below two beds, to create yourself an air pocket that you can survive a collapse of a building. You can look at your building before the earthquake.
Morocco is in mourning. The devastating effects that the earthquake has had on the country is evident. The recovery from the disaster will take months, if not years. For the people of Morocco, it's all about survival. This is a moment in Moroccan history that will never be forgotten. This episode of Beyond the Headlines was produced by Phil Green, Arthur Edison and Doa Farid. Thank you for listening. Remember to subscribe or follow us on all your favourite podcast platforms so you never miss an episode. And if you enjoyed this episode, please consider sharing it with others who might benefit from the conversation.